It's dark, and it's meant to be dark. It's dark because I grew up in darkness. I grew up in an environment where love was conditional. I didn't get deposits of unconditional love into my emotional bank account. And when I read about the emotional bank account in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, 20 years ago, I gave my father a book called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. And in it, Stephen talks about the emotional bank account. And he says, we need to make deposits of unconditional love into the emotional bank account. And then it becomes light. Our lives become light. We learn to deal with the narcissists in our lives. Those people who want something from us, but who don't make deposits of unconditional love, but demand it. Demand you to be an adult when you're a child. Demand you to get your point across in 30 seconds. And so you spend hours and hours and hours preparing your 30 seconds, and it's always wrong. You get screamed at. You get beaten. Over the last few months, I've been researching narcissism, narcissists, gaslighting, flying monkeys. And there's more than enough channels on this. Look up and find them. Learn about gaslighting. People like me who were gaslighted by narcissists, and their flying monkeys, which could be their brothers or cousins, or even other siblings, who protected the narcissist and treated the person who was being accused as the faulty one. And so many people grow up and they don't know who they are, because one day the narcissist loves them, and the next day the narcissist hates them, and the next day the narcissist loves them, and the person being gaslighted has no idea why that happens, and spends hours of their day trying so hard to understand. And during these months, I've discovered something which I've called the volunteer. At some point, as a young person, I learned that if I volunteered for something, I got a little bit of love. The beautiful thing about volunteering is that no matter how little or how much you do, you get a lot of love. You get thanked. You get treated with kindness. Remember, as a child, there was something called barber job. You went and washed a neighbor's car, and they gave you a few cents. You went and mowed someone's lawn. Maybe someone gave you 50 cents, and it was enough to go and see the movie on a Saturday morning. In those days, you could get the movie, the short, the Coke, and the sweets, all for 50 cents. And so an afternoon of mowing someone's lawn or cleaning their car or dealing with their trash or whatever it was that you did in your neighborhood gave you that day off on the weekend. And the next big thing that happened in my life was volunteering in youth movements, becoming a leader in youth movements. And the next big thing was in school, where a couple came to our assembly and they asked for volunteers to help with their brain damaged child. And I did that. And all these decades later, I'm still friendly with that family. And that child, who was only expected to last 3 or 4 years, lasted until his 40 or 41st birthday and only died a few years ago. Incredible what we did. And as I grew up, I volunteered my time, much too much time. Much too much time. And it was easy for people who said to me, David, you have so much to contribute. And then I contributed 10, 20, 30, 50 hours, sometimes 100 hours, sometimes 200 hours, just for that acknowledgement. Well done, David. And all of this was so unnecessary. I could have been a volunteer. I was a volunteer. I started a new synagogue. I learned things. I learnt about energy, and I spoke to thousands of people at conferences, and I impacted thousands more with my blogs and articles and speaking at conferences and writing books. And it was all voluntary. It was all me saying, well, I need to work out how I can break even in 80 hours a month so that I have the other 100 hours a month, or even 120 hours of free time, so that I can give of myself, so that I can get that love, so that I can get thanked. Well done, David. So that I could get that love from outside, not from my parents. My parents, I didn't lack anything when I grew up. I went to good schools. My parents paid for university. When I got a bursary for honours, the 4th year postgraduate year in South Africa, 3,000 Rand, I went to my dad and said, Dad, I can pay for myself now. And he said, no, I'm paying for education. And I used that money to learn to fly. It was great, a great year. It was a very difficult year. I learned to fly, and I went to 15 hours solo. I didn't do my pilot's license, and it was the only time in my life that I flew. But it was exhilarating. And so volunteering allowed me to deal with the narcissists in my life. It allowed me to deal with the people who didn't give me love. It allowed me to deal with the lack of unconditional love. And maybe it can help you. Maybe you're already a volunteer, and maybe it's impacted you as much as it impacted me, where at least half of my time and energy was spent volunteering. And I've changed that now. My New Year's resolution has been to say no, and to stop all the extraneous activities, and to build my income. I'm going to be 60 this year, and I've decided that in the next 10 years I'm going to focus on my career. Maybe it sounds odd to you, but I can do that. I've got 40 years of experience. And I've discovered with AI and ML and big data that people are forgetting how to do their jobs. There's an over-reliance on computers and robots. And people with intuition, as Malcolm Gladwell says, people with over 10,000 hours of specialization have something to contribute, and I'm one of those people. But if you're gaslighted, if you're abused by a narcissist, perhaps you're also a volunteer. And if you're a volunteer, then perhaps consider that maybe you're a volunteer because no matter how little or how much you volunteer, you get unconditional love from those people that you volunteer for. I love you all and I bless you all, and thank you so much for watching my channel. And I volunteer this time to you. God bless you.